Each month's schedule is a little bit different as an airline pilot. So let's say you got more days off than you anticipated, you don't have any plans, and you want to earn a little bit more money during the month or build more flight time. Well, picking up OT or open time flying could be a great option. And here at Envoy, that's usually paid at 150% of your normal hourly rate. Here's how it works. Simply put, OT is extra flying that needs to be covered. When a pilot drops all or part of a sequence, calls in sick, or has a contractual or legal conflict that requires a trip to be dropped, crew scheduling offers OT. The very same trips that are assigned to reserve pilots are usually first offered as OT to pilots that are both available and who want to pick up extra OT during the month. Only if a departure is imminent does open flying skip the OT process entirely and go directly to reserve pilots. Most airlines have an agreement between the pilot group and company as to how much OT will be offered each month. And for us at Envoy, roughly 10% of all monthly flying is offered as OT. This is negotiated by the union to make sure that line holding pilots have the ability to change their schedules when they need to, or even make extra money during the month. Recently, I haven't been picking up much OT because I really value spending my off days at home, but this month, one of my reserve periods was much shorter than usual at just 3 days in a row, followed by 3 days off. I didn't have any plans at home and I wanted to earn a little bit of extra money for the month, so I started looking around for OT trips that might fit my schedule, and I happened to pick up a really good 2-day trip valued at 9.3 flight hours out of my base in Chicago. Depending on who you fly for, you might have the option to set up notifications for newly released trips and open time. Along with many pilots at Envoy, I use a third-party app on my phone that notifies me of newly released open trips. It integrates with the Envoy computer network to be able to show me that data. And I can even set basic parameters on the app to notify me of trips that are of a certain length, of a certain amount of flight hours, a certain start time, end time, or even a particular overnight. To make the trip work, I spent an extra night in Chicago after my last day of reserve, and over 2 days I had 8 legs between Traverse City, Madison, and Wausau, Wisconsin. On my last day, I finished by 11 a.m., which allowed me to catch a noon flight home so I could have a full day at home before having to go back to work again. And over those 8 legs, I ended up flying 10.2 hours after a few short delays. OT trips don't always work out this great, but when they do, it's a really awesome opportunity. From the 10.2 hours of flight time, I was paid at 150% of my normal hourly rate. So that's 15.3 hours of pay for just 10.2 hours of flight time, in addition to the normal $1.90 I make per diem per hour spent away from base. In all, I made about $644 for just an extra day spent away from home. Not all OT trips are worth this much, but if you can find one, it's a really great one to pick up. By now you might have noticed that I don't live full-time in Chicago where I'm based. I'm a commuter from elsewhere in the country along with many other pilots. So for me, if I want to pick up open time flying, the most efficient way of doing that is by adding it onto the beginning or end of a previously scheduled flight sequence or reserve period. Otherwise, I'd be forced to spend about half a day commuting on either end of an OT trip, which sucks away even more off time spent at home. It's a little bit easier if you live in base, and it can be as simple as just driving out to the airport on an off day. Keep in mind, picking up OT is entirely optional, and while I usually don't like losing valuable off days spent at home, when the right OT trip pops up and happens to fit my schedule, it can be a great way to increase your overall earnings and flight time for the month.